there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Turning point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than...
Hey there, and welcome to Marshall Silver. Glad to be with you on this, the 22nd edition of Marshall Silver Live. How awesome is that? Hey, you know what? A lot of things happen, and you never know what's going to happen, actually, because real life is real life. And today's no exception. I believe in this concept called dry testing. What is dry testing? Dry testing is the ability to do something without knowing what kind of a result you'll get. And so many times I see people wanting to launch their business and not quite sure whether it's going to succeed. Doubt comes in. They want to work out all the bugs until they get everything right. And then finally, they launch. And my experience has been, I don't care how much advanced preparation, I don't care how much pre-planning, I don't care how thorough you are or think you are when you're putting something together. I guarantee you, you're going to put out crap. And then you're required, if you're a good business anyway, to put out crap 2.0. Back in 1994, I had an idea for an infomercial for a product that I thought would sell extremely well via infomercial. And I shopped it to all the leading infomercial marketers of the time. And the fact of the matter was that nobody wanted it. They all told me hypnosis wouldn't work on television. And I said, I don't know. I think it would work just fine. I'm crushing it from a live stage, and it couldn't be that much different on television. They all told me it wouldn't work. The two, actually, that's not true. Two told me that it might work and that they would give me 1 point, meaning for every $100 worth of products sold, they'd give me $1. And I just said, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. And so I ended up just saying to myself, you know what? Bottom line, I'm going to go do this show. So I took my last $10,000. We produced the show. It wasn't a $1 million production. It wasn't nearly as good as everything else that was out in the marketplace. I didn't have the money. I couldn't compete. Tony Robbins is running an infomercial. He's got Quincy Jones and Pam Anderson, and I've got Bob Wilson and Sally Smith. And I know you're wondering who is Bob Wilson and Sally Smith, and that's the point. I also didn't have the track record that he had, but what I did have was a distinction, a marketing distinction. I knew what made my product, my service, my offer unique to the marketplace. And I think so many times people don't pay attention to that. What is your UMP? Sometimes they call it an USP, unique marketing proposition or unique selling proposition. What is the thing that makes you different in the marketplace? And so many times I don't see people doing that. And I think one of the biggest reasons is that people are lazy, they're fearful, and they're flat out unable to take a risk. Amazon, one of the most successful companies in the history of the planet, started off as a massive failure. For years, Bezos sold books and lost billions of dollars. I guess there's a lot of B's in that comment, and couldn't make money. In fact, I remember one day being on a golf course, riding in my golf course with a transistor radio. For those of you that are under 40 years old, a transistor radio was this thing. At any rate, uh, I was listening to a talk show, and they were talking about the fact that Amazon had lost billions with a B, billions of dollars. And all I could think about at the moment was how wonderful to have a business that could lose billions of dollars and still be in business. As they say, the rest is history. Time went by, and Amazon, of course, made some switches, started selling something more than books, and now is the number one retailer in the world. I have a shirt on. I love this shirt. It's wonderful. It's made of this supple material that is so soft. I just want to touch myself. That's the upside. The downside is this material is so supple and soft that the buttons won't stay buttoned. The button holes don't grip the buttons properly, and so it over time automatically unbuttons buttons. Now, in my single years, that might have been useful. I'm a married man now with 3 children, and so it's a little bit different. Although I love the material of the shirt, they got to do something with the buttons. And so what I'm thinking, because if you look at the shirt actually has a cover over the buttons. It's got a flap of material over the buttons. And I thought, well, heck, if I have my manufacturer, because they're custom made shirts, if I have the manufacturer remake the shirts, how about we don't do buttons? How about we do snaps or more something more, a better attachment? Then that would make the shirt great. But you wouldn't have known it had you not made the shirt out of this material in the first place. My point to you is the key today, the lesson, not the secret word. We do have a secret word with us. The secret word, by the way, today, 326, is worth 4,500 bucks. If you say the secret word of the day, worth $4,500, and you're going to get a chance to say the secret word after our guest today. But the lesson of the day today is to dry test. Throw something out to the marketplace, see if the marketplace is interested. Now, when I dry test means that you throw it out into the marketplace before you have a product. You offer it up to the marketplace for sale before you actually have something sold. These days, they call it crowdfunding. Crowdfunding isn't just about generating revenue. It's about seeing if there's an interest in the marketplace for this thing that you're selling. So, if I offer up, as an example, if I offer up a training program, let's imagine I want to sell memory courses to students in college to help them study faster, retain more information, get better grades. Then what I want to do is make sure I put it in front of what we call target rich environments, prospects that could potentially buy the product. If you put it in front of those target rich environments and they buy, do the product. If you put it in front of those target rich environments, people that would and could, they would want what you're selling and they could afford it, and they don't buy, don't waste your time. It's a bad product. And so when you understand the concept of dry testing, you save yourself a whole lot of time. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen people, well-intentioned people, produce really cool products that people just didn't want. How do I know this? The example I just gave you is a real life example. I was working at a college, San Diego State University, and I was doing my show there every week, and we had about 1,000 people every Tuesday night showing up for the show, having fun with me. Whenever I see people, the first thing I think to myself is, I should sell them something. And this was no exception. So I thought to myself, I should sell them a memory course, something that allows them to study faster, retain more, do better on their tests. I'll sell it for 30 bucks. That's nothing. Surely these students could afford 30 bucks. Well, I offered it up for 3 weeks and made exactly 0 sales. At the end of those 3 weeks, I asked one of the guys that was coming to the show every week, get on stage with me, phenomenal hypnotic subject. I thought for certain he would buy one of these tickets to this training program. And when he didn't buy, I asked him, I said, why aren't you buying? And he said, oh my God, man, that $30 will cut into my beer money. Not a target rich environment, not the right place, not the right product, not the right time. Hey, speaking of making things happen, today on today's show, you know how much I love sales. In fact, I believe that sales are the cornerstone of our economy. And since sales are the cornerstone of our economy, I think it's only fitting that on today's show, we should have one of the top sales instructors and one of the top people in training salespeople in the world. His name is Josh Lyons. He's known for his expertise in catapulting high-ticket offer owners, people like myself, and service providers to high monthly revenues. He shares his proven strategies for building and scaling sales teams to achieve $1 million a month or even more. I'm going to get into the techniques and the structures, leadership skills, and the other things required to transform your sales organization, if you have one, or to grow one if you don't, into a powerhouse of productivity and profitability. So whether you're struggling to scale your sales team, you're seeking to break through revenue plateaus, or just want to form your own sales team, or you're just aiming for that coveted $1 million a month milestone, Josh Lyons' expertise is going to offer a roadmap to your success. More than that, he's just a good all-around guy. Please, nice big Marshall Silver welcome to Josh Lyons. Welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure, man. Happy to be here. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. I'm a little surprised. I hadn't heard you speak. I denote a little bit of an accent there.
I am. I'm from the UK. So originally born and raised off the coast, tiny little island, less than 100,000 people there. Very, very small mindset, but managed to break away and spread my wings out into the bigger world. So I'm now out in South America, traveling around every 3-4 months, doing my thing. And just living life.
I love it. So you are one of the top people in the industry for teaching organizations how to create sales teams. First thing I want to ask, tell me a little bit about your background. What brought you to here?
Oh, it's a wild story. It's not that long ago that I was making $1,500 a month, doing a job that by now a computer, robot, artificial intelligence could do for you. I was posting things on social media and doing marketing for different businesses. Fast forward a pretty wild ride, and we'll get into why it was so quick and so significant, how much I was able to cover the ground in such a short period of time. I ended up finding myself as a full-time high-ticket closer. And I worked my way up very, very quickly. And my claim to fame, the first one, was when I hit $100K a month in commission. So full-time sales rep, selling a product that was $15,000, paid in full, and I was bringing in over $100,000 in commission. So I was bringing in for the business $1.12 million in cash collected every single month. And people started wondering, what do I know? What's the secret? What's the secret sauce?
What kind of product were you selling?
I was selling a cryptocurrency training community. So it was a program where people would get training on how to make the right investments and how to capitalize and maximize those investments. And they would be part of a, for want of a better word, because it wouldn't pass the FTC approval nowadays, insider group of secret information. So they got access to both the training and the community. And that was at the time in the previous bull run where cryptocurrency was really popping off. And so people were interested to know what we had to offer. But, and we'll get into some sales tactics, I'm sure, here later, as with anything financial, people have a lot of fear. You know, my mentor taught me that one of the two things that guys lie about the most and therefore keep close to their chest is women and money. I'm not going to tell you really what's going on. I'll lie about my romantic situation, and I'll lie a little bit about my financial situation. I think in sales, it's important to know those things. What are the mental models? What are the patterns? Where do people want to let's say, adopt different truths than a actual reality. And so whilst it was a great offer, there was a lot of getting over people's fears of moving from being on the sidelines to being on the field, actually taking their hard-earned money and putting it into investments. And because of that, I was able to really develop a lot as a salesperson. From there, people saw what I was doing, and the story, for not wanting to elaborate too much detail, I was on that offer I mentioned, and they had 3 sales forces. They had an internal sales force, they had a done for you sales service where people were hired externally and brought on, and then there was myself. I was just an independent sales contractor. And those 2 teams had between 7 and 9 people on each team, so 15 people. I was single-handedly bringing in more money for the business than the entire teams. So I beat a team of 9 people internally, beat a team of 9 people externally. And so then people wanted to know, how did I do that? And I got asked to go into people like Alex Hormozi's old gym launch business and train them on what I knew, train some of the big companies like Seventh Level and Sales Sniper, and really just got brought into companies to share what exactly I had done in order to outperform an entire team. Because obviously, if you could get 5, 6, 7 people to perform at that rate, you've now got a team that is unequivocally beyond challenging in the marketplace. And whilst your offer is important, the world marketing online is much more competitive. Even if you've got an incredible offer, you need to make sure that that offer is being transferred to the prospect in the right way. And a lot of that, as I'm sure we'll get into, and you know a lot about, is breaking down people's disempowering ways of thinking, whether it's limiting beliefs, mind viruses, excuses, rationalizations, justifications. And that's really what a closer's job is not to just swipe a credit card. Yep, I'll just, take the details. It's to really get inside someone's head and figure out, why haven't they already got what they wanted in life? And can you help them reposition their awareness of themselves and the world in order to get them what they want in life?
You just said something that I thought was pretty powerful, and not a whole lot of people will admit it, that so many times people say, if your offer isn't working, it's the offer. And I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. Sometimes it's the marketing, sometimes it's the salespeople, because you can have a fantastic offer, a phenomenal product, and it doesn't sell for whatever reason. But you can have a crummy product and a really good sales team, and they can crush it. If you don't believe that, ask Jordan Belfort. Again, he's a classic example of somebody who built a career, as depicted in Wolf of Wall Street, selling, BS, selling crap and making millions of dollars with it. So let's talk a little bit about you, and because I love sales. I believe salespeople, again, we're the cornerstone of the economy. So I have a massive affection for anybody that's really good at their craft. What do you love about sales?
What I love about sales is everything that doesn't seem like it's sales having such a massive impact on sales. And I think there's a lot of other industries where that isn't the case. It's very much stay in your lane, just focus on this thing. But sales is so much about energy, spirit, your way of showing up in life. And the thing that I love most about sales is that when someone understands that that is the truth, they have such a adventure that they can go on, and a life journey in order to become a master closer. You have to organize yourself. You have to decide very, very thoughtfully, where are you going to live in the world? You have to think about your belief systems. Are your mental models limiting you, or are they empowering you? And so we'll get into my specific training, but 90% of what I train a closer on the front end is nothing to do with what happens on the phone. And that's what I love most about it, is that you can teach someone, say this word at this time with this tonality, and it may work, but it's not going to land if they are the wrong human being, if they're showing up in the wrong way. You know this, on how their filters are working. You know, somebody gets up and thinks, oh, this city's a piece of shit. Other person, wow, this is the best city in the world. The city didn't change. Vegas is an example. You know, people go there and, oh, I don't like it. Don't ever want to be here. Other people, they're like, I never want to leave. And so that's just an example of how important it is to get inside yourself and realize that what happens on the phone, whether the person buys or not, is everything that's going on with your identity, more so than whether you said this word or that word, or you said it with an upwards inflection or a downwards inflection. Like, those things don't really matter. They're icing on the cake. So
Yeah, you know, it's the expression that those that are afraid to buy will always telegraph that fear when they're selling something. And that, you know, good salespeople make good buyers. We do. I look around my
100%.
home and I think of all the ridiculous stuff I've bought because I like buying things. I just do.
Yeah.
And you know, and you know, we'll buy something and maybe it doesn't work out, and my wife will say, "Well, we should return that." And I'll go, "Honey, it's $50. It's not worth the drive back to the store to return it. It's just not.
Yeah.
Give it to somebody that'll find value." I saw an article the other day, and it was about twins that were raised in the same family, same environment, same everything. And one of them was being interviewed in prison where he had spent the majority of his life. And the other one was a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you asked, they were interviewing the twins because they turned out so different. And the twin that was in prison said, well, how else would it have turned out? This was my mother. This was my dad. This was my environment growing up. And I thought that was fascinating because then when they interviewed the Fortune 100 executive, he said, well, how else could I have turned out? This was my mom. This was my dad. This was my environment. And so, you know, I look at my own life and I look at the life of so many people. I'm sure you have siblings. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, one sister.
So your sister probably doesn't fully understand you, doesn't fully get you. You know, I have 10 siblings and I love them so very much, but we're very different people. My brain is wired to be massively empathetic. And I think that's what you were describing. It's the ability, you're right. There's no sales technique that's going to tell you how to close 100% of the sales, except for the technique that says, see the world through their eyes. Get in their head, figure out what's going on for this young unwed mother. Figure out what's happening for this retired couple that just got their first Social Security check. Figure out what's going on with this person that's bought every freaking real estate course in the world and still hasn't done their first deal. And when you can be that level of empathetic, then can you understand what message they really need to hear to make a purchase decision.
Yeah.
So you have a wonderful style about you, and I know you know this, whether it's that slight accent, it certainly is the tone of your voice. It's a lovely, I always tell people when they have a beautiful voice like you have nice pipes. And, you know, coming from the nice pipe club, I recognize it when I hear it. And so besides your voice, what do you think is the structure of influence? I have some ideas myself, and obviously we're both master salespeople. So let's put that aside and know that we're both preaching to the choir, except I'm wanting the audience to hear from your point of view, you know, what do you think is the structure of this process that we call influence?
I think it all boils down to listening, like you said, and listening to understand, not listening to speak. And so many times people listen because they're thinking, where's my way into the next thing to say, or the next question, or the next little way that I'm going to move the conversation this way or move the conversation that way. And I think in order to not make that mistake, you have to really check your ego at the door, because true listening is almost you put the person on the soapbox and you stand back and you say, I'm just going to listen to what you have to say. And then every time they get to a point where they kind of don't know what else to say, you encourage them. You say, well, what exactly happened there? When did that happen? Or tell me about that. How did that make you feel? And you're literally just listening there, letting it be someone else's show. And that's the biggest thing that I see wrong with salespeople is they want it to be their show. It's my show, and I'm going to ask these fantastic questions. And if I ask this one this way and this one this way, oh, I've got you in the nuts. It's like, that's not sales. Like that's manipulation, and that's, you know, taking control of someone. Real sales is about this beautiful balance between empathizing with the human being on the phone. They're a real human being. They've got a heartbeat, but at the same time, not empathizing with the layers of disempowering things that they've allowed to sort of put over them. It's like you're empathizing with who they could be, and you do everything to get out of their way, and to also then say, hey, you know, this thing that you said, that is standing in your way right now. Do you know that? Okay. Do you want us to explore that? And so it's very much about the dance between getting your own ego in control, getting out of the way, and then using all of the techniques, the tactics, the skills to serve the person, to help the person. And when I see people usually invest in sales training, they want to do it for them. Well, if I get this sales training, I'll get more closes and I make more money. And I think one of the things that did allow me to grow so quickly was every time I reinvested in my mentor or studied more or learned more, I was always thinking about it from, fuck, I had this guy on the phone that needed my help and I couldn't help them because I didn't know what to say to reframe their mindset in a way. And that guy's gone back and he's sat there at home, you know, not able to spend the time with his son that's growing older that he wants to. And I carried that with me. I was like, man, like that's on me. Like I've got this role as a closer. I have to help them. I have to learn more about what I can do in order to help this person get out of their own way. And I think that's one of the big differences with kind of the fundamentals of sales is, why do you even want to learn sales? Do you want to learn it to help, or do you want to learn it to get what you want in life? Now, those two things go full circle. Like the great Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you can have whatever you want in life. That's the beauty of it anyway. But you have to decide, are you putting the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse? And if you're trying to help people and you genuinely are trying to help people, it's not some tactic of, oh, well, if I have this moral compass, I'll close more deals. It's like, no, if you genuinely care, life will happen for you. You opened up the conversation with, you know, not needing to have a crystal ball. And a lot of sales is about that. You know, you don't know if the deal's going to close. I don't even know usually if the deal's going to close until I'm on the last final moment. And I say, hey, how much longer do you want to live life like this? And it's that, I think sales is the best thing in the world. You know, it's just such a beautiful art and science about it. So.
You know, I love your description and I love your approach to it, because I agree that sales is not getting somebody else to say yes. Sales is presenting in such a way that they beg you for what you're selling and they believe it was their idea.
100%.
And so, I liken it to when I'm doing hypnotherapy with somebody and they have a fear of snakes. My job is not to sell them on how awesome snakes are. My job is for them to come to the conclusion that their fear of snakes is unwarranted, since they have no intention of, walking through a den of snakes or inviting snakes to dinner. Their fear of snakes is irrational to the point that they're not likely to encounter many. And even when they encounter them, the snake's probably more afraid of them than they are of the snake. But they've got to come to that conclusion, because until they come to that conclusion, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
I have a son of mine. I have two sons and a daughter, and one of my boys is a fairly picky eater. And he'll often, when I offer him up something, we'll go to a Mexican restaurant, I'll offer him up, hey, why don't you try the machaca burrito? Oh, I don't like that, Daddy. I just want a steak taco. That's pork. He won't eat sushi. His older brother has been eating sushi since he was 2 and loves it. But my son Maximus knows what he likes what he wants, and gets it. So I think that part of the challenge is too many times salespeople don't figure out how to frame what they're selling so that it can look like what the other person has said they want. And the best salespeople that I've encountered do that. I'll tell you my breakthrough, and I want to talk about this with you, and I want to talk about some of the strategies, because even though you've talked about being natural, being empathetic, being a better listener, which are all necessary, I also know that ultimately our language patterns will determine our success. And some people don't realize their natural language patterns are actually driving people away. It's the guy who's single and definitely wants to date the girl at the bar, except he walks up to her and he says, "Hi, how you doing?" and he's shaking his head back and forth because his insecurities are so high. He's already thinking she's going to say no to me.
Or, hey, I don't want to bother you and I
believing-
apologize, but, you know, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than what you just said, you know, I feel bad when I have something that I believe in that I present to somebody and they don't buy. I don't feel bad for me, just like what you said. I think to myself, oh my God, I just screwed up his family. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I just blew it for this guy. He's going to have another 5 years of the torture that he described to me because I didn't freaking do my job. And it's salespeople that come from that point of view that we're driven. You know, we have my breakthrough was standing on a platform where I was invited to speak. And it was one of the first times I was invited to a platform where I wasn't paid a speaking fee, where I was told, no, sell what you sell, keep what you sell, and that will be your speaking fee. I'm of the notion you take a bad gig until a good gig comes along. And so I was on stage in front of 1,000 real estate investors for a guy named Ron LeGrand. And he said, yeah, make them an offer, whatever you sell, you keep, and that'll be your pay for this gig. Well, I offered up a $500 product and 800 people bought it. So $400,000 generated in 90 minutes, and it changed my whole life. And that was the front end, let alone, you know, the back end where those people were worth $5,000 to $10,000 a piece on the back end because they already trusted me and knew me and I'd already delivered beyond what I'd promised. That was where I got excited, was understanding that I could take what I was doing 1-to-1 and do 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 10,000 or whatever the number of people in front of me was. And it's a different beast for sure. And it's a different level of understanding the audience. I just this morning in my feed saw something about a guy who was invited to his buddy's birthday party. They're both young 20-somethings. And his buddy was having his birthday party at a high-end restaurant in New York. And the guy goes in and he sits down, he looks at the menu, and the hamburger, the cheapest item on the menu, is $54. And if you want fries, that's an additional $15. And he said he looked at the menu and, you know, he's 22 years old. He said, I'm not spending this much money on a meal. That's my weekly food budget right there. I'm not doing it. And so he left his buddy's party and his buddy gave him no end of grief. And my thought was, yes, you didn't know your audience. You didn't understand that again, you know, I fly around in private jets. I'm at my beach house right now, right on the ocean in San Diego. I have a home in Las Vegas that's 17,000 square feet. And while that's all well and good for me, there's a portion of most audiences that are going to go, who do you think you are, rich hypno boy, you snob? And so I make sure that I let the audience know, hey, I'm as shocked as you are that I'm living this life. And I'm not telling you this stuff to impress you with me. I'm already really impressed with myself. I want you to get that if a doofus like me can create their life on purpose, then surely a genius like you is going to have less challenge than I did. And I think that, you know, that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand is you're a model good looking man. I know you know this. You've got a great face. You're modest too about it. I can tell by that slight grin on your face rather than a complete nod. Oh yeah, I know that. And because of that, you know, you can control almost any room you want to. Because you're as good looking as you are, when it comes to sales, it's a detriment. It actually works against you. Because people say, oh, yeah, Josh, you're good looking and you've got this beautiful voice and you're a world traveler. And yeah, all that stuff will work for you. Well, what about me, though? I'm not that guy. You know, I have a shaved head and to some people, a shaved head's fairly intimidating. So I've got to geek it up really fast so that people know I don't take myself seriously. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very interesting you said that because
which part, that you were good looking or that it was actually your detriment?
Well, just the fact you picked up on it, because when I closed, I never had a camera on. So I've never, ever, ever used video. I just give them a phone call. Now, my voice, okay, fair enough, my voice. I can see the point, you know, it could work in your favor in certain situations, depends, you know, where someone is on a level of consciousness. You know, if they're very, you know, apathetic and very prideful or egotistical, they might see it as you said, intimidating, and it will bring them down. Whereas someone that's more on, you know, love, joy, peace, I don't think they'd really be that bothered about the way I look. But I'm mincing my words because I'm thinking I try, and you said about, our words. I try and not put into any of my students' minds that things matter that don't matter. If someone turned up, and I'll take an example. I've got one guy on a team that I train. He has a skin pigmentation. He obviously does his calls on video. I've never mentioned it because so long as he's asking someone the right questions and truly caring about them, and so long as he's not taking that as, I feel like the prospect's going to feel uncomfortable because of my skin pigmentation or whatever, so long as he's not bringing that to the conversation, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters.
Well, what I think matters, and that's a good example. I have one of my students has propecia, and he doesn't have any hair on his body. He's got no hair on his head. He's got no eyebrows. He has no pubes. At least that's what he told me. I don't know for sure. And and unlike other people in a similar circumstance that might, as you just used in that example, use it against them. Like the example you just used, he went the opposite direction. In fact, I told him that's your unique marketing proposition. That is what makes you stand out. And he launched some social media channels that are crushing, all because of that. And I think his media handle is no pubes, which I think is just hilarious. Because again, it's the comic that weighs 400 pounds that gets on stage and doesn't pretend that they're physically fit. They go, look, I weigh 400 pounds. You probably notice I'm a little out of shape. And it's that authenticity, though, that, again, that authenticness that I think is massively sexy. And I tell people at our training programs, it doesn't matter your size or shape or gender or skin color, or if you have two-tone skin color, it doesn't matter. What matters is, do you like yourself? And are you a joy to be near? Because I think people tend to like people that they like themselves when they're near. So, you and I will think we have a good relationship if I like myself when we're talking. And so anything that can be done to put me in that great emotional state and then have you be the trigger is going to be a very huge tool to you in that process. Let's talk a bit about, because we made a promise, let's talk a bit about any kind of strategies or gambits or any, tips, or you've already given one, obviously, listen. And you've also said, I don't want to put into the mind of anybody that I train that they have any limitations. Wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Give me some more insights on how somebody that wants to be a phenomenal salesperson, what could they do? Are there gambits? Are there strategies? Are there techniques? Are there things that they could immediately implement?
I'll come to that. I want to add one thing onto what you said before, because I love that topic. And it's a phrase that I've used many times in training, which you said, hey, if you're around someone and they make you feel like you like yourself more, that's a huge anchor. And I've always used the phrase, I'm sure you've heard of it, and it says, I am not what I think I am, or who I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And I think that's such a great way to explain it, that your
with
own
one caveat, with one caveat, to you, right? Because it doesn't matter who we think we are. You're right. 100% doesn't matter. What matters is, who do they think we are? And I think the addition to that is, to myself and to yourself, we are what we think, right? To the outside world, though, they base their judgment of us on what we do. Except what we do is also based on what we think. So what they think of us is always based on what we think of ourselves.
Yep. And that ties very much into sales, where a salesperson says something fancy, but they're behaving in a completely different way. I think another thing that salespeople and sales trainers get wrong is undermining and diminishing the general level of intelligence of most people. Now, most people might not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. Like, they feel when you're showing up authentically or inauthentically. And a lot of bad sales trainers, or even salespeople, underestimate that. They think, oh, well, if I say the right thing in the right way, the prospect's not going to know. It's like, yeah, they are going to know. They're going to know if that's coming from a place of genuine power or from a place of disingenuous force. You're trying to use a gambit or use a tactic. The other thing I wanted to add in, and you were talking about, my appearance or my voice, and that's an interesting story, because my voice changed. And my voice changed quite substantially when I started thinking about the things that I think about. And as you said, the things you think about becomes the things you talk about, and the things you talk about becomes the things that you do. My voice was much more higher pitched and much more airy. There was a lot less density to it when I used to say things that weren't my own words. I used to read something, I used to absorb it, and I used to recite it. And the communication of lessons that aren't your own is never going to have as much power behind the expression or as much amplification behind it. And I think that's a natural defense mechanism, that you shouldn't be out there on your soapbox talking about things that you haven't experienced. You're just saying them because someone else said it and it sounds right. Carl Jung called it unearned wisdom. In other words, if you're taking wisdom that you haven't actually learned through experience, you're going to have some type of repression or suppression in your ability to communicate it. And so my voice changed a lot when I started to think about my own opinions, my own thoughts. What do you think about that?
100%. I love it. No, I've been on the air for about 4 weeks and a couple of days now. This is episode 22, and we're on the air 5 days a week. And I will go on record as saying you're one of my top 3 broadcasts so far. I love what you're talking about. And again, you're the cornerstone of the economy. People ask me all the time, was that always your voice? And absolutely not. It's the voice I developed. It's the voice that I said, this tone resonates on a subconscious level to a much greater degree than a higher pitched voice does. And since all buying decisions are based first subconsciously and then backed up consciously, then it starts with that voice, that pleasing voice. Fran Drescher. I don't know if you remember the actress Fran Drescher. She was
do not.
the nanny, and her voice was kind of like this. That was her trademark. Her voice was very nasally. Sexy girl, but she had that voice. It would drive me nuts. I could not be around that voice. In fact, I dated a girl in high school, hottest girl in high school, except that was her voice, and I just couldn't handle it. I would just say, please, just don't say anything. Just be quiet. And so I wholeheartedly agree that that's one of the first things people should take a look at, particularly if they spend a lot of time on the phone. If that's the only tool, if it's not video, if it's just audio, you need to appeal on every level with that. The other thing I want to point out to anybody watching the show right now, if they're not paying attention, is the extremely measured pace of your delivery is beautiful. It's easy to understand. It's clear. You're over enunciating. Nobody has to say, excuse me, what was that? What'd you say? Because the moment they do it one time, they'll let you repeat yourself. If they don't understand you a second time, they'll just smile and nod as if they understood you. When they don't, you lost them completely. And
that's a perfect segue into a gambit, because one of the big gambits in sales is asking check-in questions. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions on that? How do you feel about what we've gone through so far? But you're not supposed to listen to the response verbally from the person, because exactly as you said, most people are not where they want to be in life. Hence, they're on a sales call because some part of them has willfully chosen to deprive themselves of the force of going through all of the obstacles that they have in their life. And therefore, they are going to be very likely to shy away from expressing how they truly feel. Did they really understand it? Do they really believe in what you're trying to talk about or sell them? And so, talking of a gambit, when you say to someone, does that make sense? Do you have any questions? And they say, yeah, that makes sense. It's like, no. That's not yes, that's no. But they're saying yes. And so one of the biggest gambits is to really, really, really be able to make space for someone to feel comfortable when you say, hey, sounds like you had a little bit of uncertainty there. How can I help? How can I explain that differently to you? Let's address that. And a lot of salespeople, they don't do that because they're rushing. They're rushing through the conversation and they listen. I love Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. They listen for the green lights, but they're not actually green lights. They're just wanting to see them as green lights so that they can get to the next part of the sales call. And so you've got to listen and think verbally, that was a green light. But energetically, that's an amber or a red. We need to pause here and we need to talk about it. So that's one gambit, is really taking those check-in questions or those check-in moments and really listening for what's actually going on under the radar.
One of the things that I believe is that part of our job as a person of influence is to keep someone in a yes state. In other words, a state where they're really enjoying saying yes to you. And that check-in question, like you said, isn't, do you love my product? It was, does this make sense? Well, yeah, it makes complete sense. Doesn't mean I want it, like you said,
Correct.
except when I say yes, it makes complete sense. I'm saying yes. So even though I don't know that I'm, saying yes on a subconscious level as well, that's what's going on. So when you can get people to start saying yes to you repeatedly, and then you become fun to say yes to, even if their mind hasn't made a decision to completely say yes, because they're kind of on the fence at that point, the likeliness of them saying yes is dramatically increased because they've already said yes to you a number of times and it was completely safe.
I
What
want
do
to
you
ask,
think?
yeah,
Go
I want
ahead.
to ask you about that. My most powerful sales question that's at the end of the discovery is, once we really understand the thing that they are currently depriving themselves of, let's say it's spending time with their children is often a big one. And you ask them, how much longer do you not want to take Johnny to school in the mornings? "Oh, I don't want to do that any longer. I have to make a change." And it's interesting what you're talking about, because that's a question where they respond with a no, not a yes. They're responding a firm no more. This is my line in the sand. I am done with this. And when I hear you saying about the yes train, which I've heard it before, and I understand conceptually how that is very powerful, the trigger that goes off in my mind is often people say yes, and it's a very light word. It's like, yes, 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 yes. There's not
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah,
any,
whatever.
yeah, there's no frustration behind that, or anger, or annoyance. And when I teach people how to know when you've got someone on a sales call, when you're like, okay, we have done our job, it's when you can feel they're getting fired up, they're getting pretty heated about the situation. As an example, I used the example of not taking your son to school. Okay, so why really do you want to build this business? Well, my current job, I can't take my son to school. Okay, what bothers you about that? Well, when I was young, my dad wasn't around and he wasn't there to do it. And I kind of grew up really challenged because I didn't feel like I had that presence. Okay, that makes sense. So how does it make you feel every day when Johnny puts his backpack on, walks out the door and says, "Bye, Dad," and you're not the one dropping him off at the school gate? "Oh, it makes me feel terrible, blah, 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 blah." And then when you really hear and you really feel that the person is bothered, they're frustrated about their situation, that's when I ask them, how many more days do you want Johnny to look you in the eyes and wave you goodbye, Dad, and you are not the one taking him to the school gates? How many more days do you want to go through that experience? And it's a no question. It's not a yes question. So I'm curious if you have any more insights on that.
I do. And I feel that it's a context question that actually is a yes question because you're highly assumptive that they don't want to let another day go on without picking their kid up from school. So it
Mhm.
actually is a yes question asked in what I call a reverse frame. So if I ask two questions in rapid succession, how much do you love my product? Hey, can you see the ocean over there? If I don't give you time to answer the first question and you only answer the second question, because nature abhors a vacuum, you'll fill in the answer to the first question with the same answer to the second question,
Mhm.
just so there's no open loop there. And it's the equivalent, once again, of a salesperson in a car. They're on a test drive and they ask the person test driving, "Hey, don't you love this car? Wouldn't you want to have it? By the way, can you see the view over there?" The person's driving, they'll look over at the view and you'll hear them answer both questions. They'll go, "Yes, yes," because they're looking at the view of the ocean and they won't even realize they also answered the other question.
Mm.
Doesn't matter. The other thing, though, and I want to preface this by saying, I'm a hypnotist. And so I have a massive unfair advantage. And I tell people up front, I'm a good salesperson. I'm a really good salesperson. In fact, I may be one of the best salespeople you encountered, so you should be on your guard the entire time we're together. More than that, though, I'm here to sell you something, and here's what I'm here to sell you. My experience has, I mentioned this on a previous show. I went to the hospital to visit my wife. She was in the hospital having a challenge, and they had valet parking. And when I pulled up to valet parking, there was a sign that said this lane is closed. So I pulled over to the other lane that didn't have the sign. When I pulled into the other lane, the valet parking attendant walked up to me. He said, "Are you here for valet?" I said, "I am." He said, "Could you pull your car all the way around and pull into this lane?" I said, "I could, but aren't you the valet parking attendant?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But I need you to pull into this lane." I said, "If I get out of the car at valet, won't you get in and park it wherever you want to park it?" He said, "Well, yeah, but I can't get into your car in that lane. That's not the proper lane. This is the proper lane." I said, "Well, that lane has a sign on it that says it's closed." He says, "It does?" He says, "I know I'm being an asshole." I said, "Well, at least we both agree on something." And he laughed and he said, "I apologize." He said, "I realize this policy sucks." I said, "We agree on two things now." And I said, "So you want me to go around and park in that lane because it's 6 feet closer to you? And then when you get my car in that lane, what will you do with it?" He said, "Well, I'm going to park it where you are right now." I said, "Do you realize how stupid that sounds?" He said, "I do. I apologize. It sounds ridiculous, even to me while I say it." And I was so relieved that we didn't have a different point of view. We had the same point of view, and he knew he was being an ass. So when salespeople are covert, and number one, you'll go through an entire sales page that won't reveal the price point on what they're selling. And, they make people get on a sales call and they tell the salespeople, don't tell them the price point up front. I don't agree with any of that. In fact, just the opposite. My belief is the sooner you can tell them the details of the offer, the sooner they'll quit resisting you because they have nothing to resist now. Now it's only about validation. Hey, what we sell is we sell a $70,000 3-day training program, and we've sold about 1,000 of those seats at this point. And one of the things I do is right off the bat in the presentation, I say, "Look, I've got a $70,000 offer. I realize that is a lot of money to anybody. I don't care who you are. That's a lot of money. At the same time, that's not the investment you're going to make. I'm going to reduce the investment to you, and I'm going to give you massive amounts of bonuses." So now the person, because free is the number one word in sales and marketing in general, now they're saying, "Okay, I understand it's $70,000, but if you give me, $1 million worth of free, then that would be a really intelligent investment. Tell me more." So now we've overcome the price point altogether. We've overcome the idea that he's going to try to sell me something. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm here to sell you something. It's my job. It's good for me. It's good for you. It's good for the entire economy. Everybody wins. And I think that again, that's the thing that's so exciting to me is I'll be on a multi-speaker stage. Every speaker gets up and they teach content. And then when they get ready to make their offer, you see their butt cheeks tighten up. You can hear them squeak when they walk. Their butt cheeks are so tight. And then they get to their offer and they become a completely different person. And when I'm training salespeople, and I'm sure you do the same thing, I tell them there should be no distinction between when you're making your offer and when you're just giving content and having a conversation. And the only distinction is you thinking you're pulling the wool over someone's eyes. So don't think you're pulling the wool over someone's eyes. Know that you're doing them a favor. Tell me more. So you are, forgive me, what country are you in right now?
I'm in Colombia, South America.
I have a lot of friends down in Colombia, and I'm a married man, and I understand why my single
You
friends
can't
are down
come
there.
then. You're not allowed.
Exactly. That's exactly what I understand. But
Yeah.
besides the beautiful ladies down in Colombia, what was the other selling points for you living in Colombia?
Climate and the arbitrage of being able to have, and I teach this in sales training, have a lot of my life automated. I teach salespeople that when you're getting on the phone, if you're thinking about needing to do a supermarket run, needing to go to the barbershop, needing to do this, needing to do that, not only are you not going to be present on the call, but you're now really, really disserving the prospect who was hoping and praying that you were going to show up with a 100% empty mind. And so Colombia allowed me to really organize all of the other structure around my life much more easily than in the UK. I can just pay someone to come to the house and clean the house and pay someone to do this. And that was a big selling point for me because I knew that whether I'm on the phones or whether I'm in business, how I am present in anything I do is going to have a massive impact. And so that was a big selling point. The climate, just being able to be operate my life in a much more beneficial way, not only to myself but to the people that I'm trying to have an impact on.
What do you want that you don't have right now? What do you want career-wise specifically?
Career-wise, I want to scale my training program. And that's something that we're working on right now, because on one hand, the training program is very much marketed as, listen, if you want to be average, you want to be middle of the road, you want to learn a word track, you want to learn a little trick here and there, don't even contact me, because I am training people that want to become master closers. And that is a lifelong pursuit. So on one hand, we've got that. But on the other hand, I do know that every person that is in sales that is 100% committed to that journey will benefit from the training that I have. And so scaling that out in a way where we can meet as many people as possible, but at the same time maintain that exclusivity that, hey, this is for a certain type of person. That's my biggest thing, because 80% of the program is the personal development side of becoming a master closer, not what to say. And I know, as you know, and I've read obviously your stuff with Turning Point, that is the best gift that you can give someone, is a program in personal development. You know, Jim Rohn talked about it. You know, the moment you truly get into some curriculum on your personal development, that's when everything in your life opens up. If you go into a very specific training about sales or hypnosis or, you know, being a mechanic, it's one very narrow band of how much your life is going to change. Whereas when you look at personal development as a whole, that is the best thing that you can gift someone, is a fundamental course on who to become. And that's what I do in sales.
So as we're getting ready to wrap up, first, thank you. You're amazing. If people want to get a hold of you, do you have any reports or a website? Or obviously lionsclosing.com is one place they can find you. What should people do that want to know more about your training and how they can learn with you?
They can go to lions.closing.com if they are a business owner, a high ticket offer owner, or a service provider, and they're looking for me to come in and do this training for their entire organization. Or if they're an individual, they can go to joshlyons.sales on Instagram, and they can watch my content. They can see if they absolutely despise what I talk about, because there is a lot of stuff there that people will be triggered by. And that's the point. I'm there to ruffle some feathers and see who wants to float and who wants to sink. And I think a lot of people in sales or any industry, they shy away from that polarizing aspect. And I think that is another thing that I differentiate myself with is, hey, this is who I am, and I love who I am. If you and I vibe, fantastic. If you and I don't vibe, no hard feelings, but I'm not going to try and mold myself to the way that you want to operate in your life. I have very high standards, and people that watch my content will see that there's no BS. It's a no BS conversation at all times. So
very cool. Any last words of wisdom you want to share before we wrap up?
It was interesting that you said two stories about money being outside of someone's ballpark, you know, the $75 burger and chips. And I think that's a really great place to end with. Like, if you're looking around at your life and there's things that you want that you can't have because money is the limitation, why not do something about that? Why not go and get rich? And I had a story. I won't give the full story. It's on other podcasts that I've been on, but where I had a really big turning point in my life was, and you've mentioned women a few times, I went on a date with a beautiful woman, and she was very intelligent. She was a lovely person. And this was before I had any money. I was just working, making $1,500 a month. Everything else was perfect. The connection, the chemistry, the sex, the laughter, everything. But when she asked me, hey, what do you want in your future? And I said, I want a long-term relationship, family, etc. And she said, fantastic, me too. And she was from a very rich family in Dubai. And she hadn't told me that prior. I think she wanted to make sure that that wasn't a part of the conversation at that point. And she asked me about my financial situation. And cut a long conversation short, it ended up being that there was no way where her life and my life were going to fit together because I wasn't on the same level as her financially. And she said, I don't want to put you in a tough position where you're trying to take me here and take me there and do this and do that. And you're putting yourself into a bad position because maybe you just need to go and find your way of making money first. And I think a lot of look at things they want and they can't afford them. I bought a $3,500 Mont Blanc pen the other day and I showed a couple of my friends and said, "Oh my God, why did you buy that?" I said, "Because I wanted it." Because I wanted it. So I bought it and I just make more money and cover the bills and I'll just do it again on repeat. And a lot of people want things that they can't afford financially. And the moment they feel that, I can't afford it, they shy back to like, "Oh, well, I'll forget my desire to want those things." It's like, no. Keep the desire and level up where you are in life so that you can have the things you want. And I think for a lot of people, that's what I would like to end on is don't lower what you can have and what you want because you're not willing to raise your standards. Get whatever you want in life and show up and become the person that you need to be so you can have those things.
One of the things that I believe when somebody tells me, "Oh, that's too much money," or "That's a lot of money," or "Oh my God, I can't imagine spending that kind of money on that thing," and I know they want it, I say to them, "Won't it be great when that's not a lot of money to you?"
Exactly.
Number one. And then number two, I wholeheartedly agree that, successful people, we don't determine what we want based on what we think we can afford. We determine what we want based on what we want. And then we figure out how do we afford this thing.
100%.
And I think that that's the biggest distinction between people that consistently get what they want and people that are consistently frustrated. You have been amazing. Love your style. On a personal note, I would love to, connect and explore some more. You've been a great joy. You've added a lot of value. I'm looking at the comments in the chat and the audience adores you. So here's to the beginning of a lifetime relationship. You're amazing. And I look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon.
Likewise, Marshall. It was an absolute pleasure. I'll be in Vegas maybe in the next 4 weeks. I'm going to see Kevin. Do you know Kevin Nations?
Of course.
So I'll be at the Waldorf. We grab a drink and have a chat.
I would love that. That sounds awesome, man. Have a fantastic day and enjoy Colombia.
You too. Talk soon, Marshall. Bye. Thanks for having me.
Life is good. Life is really good. That was fun. I love talking about sales. I love talking to you too, though. And as you know, if you've been to this show before, in the second hour, I'm going to start taking your calls. All you got to do, either post your question in the chat. And as we look through it, if it looks like a great question, we'll get you on the air. Or another great way is to simply go to studiomoney.info/live guests. And there you can input your information. And that's the fastest path to getting you on the air. So either way, I want to get you on the air. If you get on the air and you're the most interesting question of the day, you know what that means. You win 10 ounces of pure Marshall silver. That's what it means. And you also say the secret word, you could win $4,500 today. I have given you some clues already as to what that word is. People think sometimes he doesn't give away the money. I give away the money, baby. In fact, the first time we ran it, we gave away $13,500 to Emily Milas. She's famous now. Emily won $13,500. I'd like to give away the $4,500 today. If we don't give it away today, guess what? Tomorrow it goes up to $5,000. So it doesn't matter to me which day it's won because it's all the same. I just assume the sooner the better. I am extremely excited about having you on the show. As long as there's calls and you want insight, I'm here for you. I'm going to take a short break. Everybody that gets on the air with me today is also going to get 2 tickets to Turning Point worth $3,000 a piece. To give you an idea, once again, we saw at the top of the show. I'm going to show it to you again. This is Turning Point. Then we're going to retreat to the vault where I can talk about sex, money, power, anything actually without being deplatformed. So we'll see you on the other side in the vault.
Turning Point, a total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions, how to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence, and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Isn't it time for your first million? Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do what you love and learn how to monetize that on a 7-figure level? Do you want to know exactly what you need to do and what not to do to have your biggest year ever? If not now, when? First Million. A 2-day subconscious learning experience that both teaches and programs you with the personality traits and habits of multimillionaires. At First Million, you'll learn how to take almost any wealth vehicle to a 7-figure level or better. You'll learn how to stop using vehicles that don't work, are too difficult, or simply unsuited for you. Making money is supposed to be fun. Stop living your life, getting ready to live your life, and start living a life of adventure. First Million was crafted to not just change what you do, it's also going to change who you are. Instead of trying to become a millionaire, you'll learn that you're already a millionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in your bank account. Beyond mindsets, you'll learn the actual personality traits of multimillionaires, so you'll naturally do what millionaires do to produce a similar result. One of the key personality traits of a millionaire is charisma. Imagine being able to walk into a room and without speaking a word, have the entire room drawn to you. Imagine others hanging on your every word, wanting to be near you, to be in business with you, and hungry to buy whatever you're selling. First Million will teach you how to use the charisma that politicians, entertainers, CEOs, and celebrities use to move nations and make millions. You'll also learn how to get more done in less time. You'll learn priority management and what the highest and best use of your time is. You'll learn laser-like focus upon IGAs, or income-generating activities, and you'll learn to let go of anything below your pay grade. What if you had more customers than you ever imagined? What if they came right to you and fought to buy from you? At First Million, you'll learn attraction marketing and strategies to get others to pay you for your marketing and advertising before they even purchase your offer.
When you attend Your First Million, you'll begin to see an overwhelming amount of amazing opportunities all around you. You'll look through the matrix and easily identify target-rich environments. You'll learn dovetailing and stacking strategies to acquire more customers and do more business with the customers you already have. Unless something is sold, no money is made. Whether you're a sales pro, a novice, or even scared to death of selling something, Your First Million is going to have you fall in love with influence and enjoy it as the game that it is. When you believe in what you're selling, you're obligated to sell it. You'll learn exact language patterns of influence and persuasion. You'll learn how to get others to ask you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. You'll become dynamically able to use arcing statements, direct links, embedded commands, and so much more. An entire tool belt of selling gambits will be yours after you get to Your First Million. As a First Million alumni, you will be clear on what you need to do to GTFM, or get the freaking money. You deserve great wealth, and Your First Million will help to raise your self-esteem around the topic of money. The amount of money you make will always be determined by your own self-image. You'll learn what billion-dollar corporations already know about outsourcing, how to get anything below your pay grade done for pennies on the dollar. Your First Million will give you the groundwork to understand presentation skills and the highest paid profession on the planet, public speaking. When you graduate from Your First Million, you'll be able to create presentations that inspire with confidence and power. If all that weren't enough, there's so much more. Making Your First Million is almost certainly going to require that you manage at least a small team. You'll walk out of the course with the knowledge of how to lead teams and synergistically get more done in less time. Technology has made our lives so much easier as we've learned how to harness it. The First Million course will teach you what is up to date and available in technology so that you can use that cutting-edge technology to get more done and have more fun. You'll also learn how to harness the power of the internet for massive passive profits. Every time you attend Your First Million, you'll learn new technology and internet marketing strategies, as these two portions of the class change every time you attend. It's like getting a brand new seminar each time you come. If you're a representative, you may attend Your First Million as often as you like, totally free, with your enrollment in the First Million course. If you're not yet a rep, or if you have not yet invested in Your First Million, enroll now. Everything begins in thought, and you know what you want to say. Go ahead, say it now. Say it out loud. I'm ready for my first million.
Ten ounces of pure silver. Just pulled it right out of the vault. Got your name on it. It sure does. If you want it, get on the air with me. It's that simple. And like I said, we've got a buffet of money, $4,500 right here, just for you. All you got to do, say the secret word, win $4,500. Hey, to get on the air, all you got to do is go to studiomoney.info/live guests. The reason we do that, just want to be sure you're a real person. Want to be sure that your camera and your audio is working at least well enough to get you on the air. Genevieve, welcome home. You got a question for me, Marshall Silver?
Hey, Marshall.
Glad you're here.
Hey there.
Where are you calling in from?
So I'm calling in from Connecticut, actually.
I love it. And how did you find out about this show?
So I found you, believe it or not, through Marcus Rothkrans. You just did a video with him, and I'm very big into nutrition and the natural health world. In fact, that's my profession. I do eye reading, iridology.
I love
So
it.
yeah, I listened to some of the things you guys talked about, and it was kind of mind-blowing. It was a new mindset. And so I've started applying a few of the things the last few days since I saw that, and I've already had offers happen. My confidence is actually, it feels more like I'm myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's actually my question for you today is your confidence level. Is this something you were born with, or is this something you acquired through learning hypnotism and hypnotherapy and learning the human mind, I guess?
That's a phenomenal question. I love it. I love your background.
Thank you.
I love Marcus so much. And one of the reasons I love Marcus is we're very different. He and I are very different, yet we're the exact same. And
Hmm.
for those of you that don't know who Marcus Rothkranz is, you should definitely check out anything he's doing. He is, I call him modern day Leonardo da Vinci. The guy is like
Yes.
ridiculously smart. I mean, brilliant. He's one of the top raw food experts in the world. He and his gal, Kara, have a book called Love on a Plate, and it's phenomenal, all about raw food. He is a master fine artist, not even just good, not even great. He's a master, right up there with Monet and anybody that does any kind of artwork. He's phenomenal, and he like scoffs it off. He brushes it off like no big deal. I just don't want to do that, and he's astounding. So back to your question though. No, nobody is born with confidence.
Mm,
Nobody is born with anything. We're all programmed. And both environment and programming is what determines who we are. My wife, when she got pregnant with our three babies, from the moment we knew she was pregnant, I started playing hypnotic reprogramming audios for her that she could listen to while the baby was being formed. Then the babies were born in the bathtub at our home in Vegas via hypnosis, no pain, no doctors, no
wow.
drugs. And so, you think about somebody coming into the world in that environment versus the world where the mom gets injected with drugs. And again, I'm not judging anybody for how they choose to give birth to babies. My wife just decided I'm going to do whatever it takes to give birth this way. And for the record, the first one was challenging. And then each one after that got easier and easier and easier because she realized it could be that way.
Mm,
Um, our children are, I'm very specific about what gets said to them. I'm very specific about who hangs out with them. I'm very specific about what the babysitter or the nanny or their baseball coach says because everything matters.
mm-hmm.
I decided, when I was born, we were dirt poor. We were really poor. We had no running water. We had no electricity. We had no phone. The second house I lived in as a kid was a converted chicken coop because it was the only place that my family could afford to live in. And, when you grow up in those kind of dire straits, you got a choice. You say, this is life, or you say, no, this will never be my life. I'm going to do what it takes to make a bigger life. And so for me, I constantly ask a question. And the question is, what would be in my highest and best interest to believe? It's easy to believe that the world's screwed up. It's
Mm-hmm.
really easy to believe that. Plenty of evidence to support that belief and program. The only question I have is, does that belief serve you? So
Mm-hmm.
belief is, even though there are things in the world that I definitely would not want to have in my world, the bottom line in that is that it's still my world. And if anybody's going to make a difference in my world, it's me. And so finding our lives less than perfect is a waste of time. It is what it is. And, finding anything that happened to us in our upbringing, in our childhood, in our past, in our adult relationships, in our adult, failed businesses, giving power to those things is a waste of time and only makes us repeat those experiences. My friend Dan Millman, who wrote the book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, that I highly recommend everybody reads, says life will teach you lessons. The lessons will get harder until you've learned them. And you'll know that you finally learned your lesson when you change your actions. And I think that's true in every area of our lives. You're a young, beautiful woman. Are you married?
I am. Yes, I am. I just got married only a few years ago, so
Good.
Mhm.
Your tonality shifted a little bit when you were talking about that. How's that going?
It's going great actually. If my tone shifted, it's because I'm married to a woman. So
That's okay.
normally I met with a lot of resistance, I
Yeah,
guess, with
not here.
that. But
No, not here. No, I believe wholeheartedly if you find love once in a lifetime, you're among the chosen few.
mhm,
And so, I fully support people in love. I love love, and I fully support people in love. Have you had bad relationships in the past?
Yes, I've had some, but I'm someone that, well, let me rephrase this. Growing up, I was surrounded with bad relationships. So, in my teenage years and up until now, I do everything I can to seek people that do not reflect those red flags to me. I try to create peace around me. There's been, like you said, you worded it perfectly. You can really just let your past sink you, or you have a choice to rise from it. And so I've chosen to make different relationships, and that's actually what I do a lot of my work based on, is helping people reframe the relationships, not only with others but also their own body and their own mindset, because that affects everything. Everything matters. So
Everything matters. So
mhm,
yeah, I was married twice before I met my one true wife. And what you're looking for is always in a place you haven't looked. And
mhm,
when people come to me and they want coaching on their business, I say, great, your success in business is going to be gained by doing something you've never done before. And the
mhm,
challenge with that is often it feels counterintuitive. It feels like we're not going to win.
mhm,
And, Marcus and I, we have very opposing political views. I happen to support Donald Trump for my own reasons. He happens to oppose Donald Trump for his own reasons. Except the thing is, we're both intelligent and we
mhm,
both like each other. And so we
mhm.
don't let our opposing views in one area determine our relationship, which is what healthy, intelligent people do. You
Yes.
mentioned you're married to a woman. I'm not going to put a title. I have some friends of mine, inner circle students. They're married to each other, and I said something to them about being lesbians, and the woman says, "I'm not a lesbian. I'm a Christy Ian," meaning her wife's name is Christy. She said, "I'm a Christy Ian. I'm not in love with women. I'm in love with this woman." And I thought, what a beautiful way to come about things. What a smart approach to life in general. Yeah, I'm more
Mhm,
attracted to a particular type of woman.
mhm.
That doesn't mean that that is my identity, though. It just so happens that a 5 foot tall brunette, brown eyed woman is the love of my life. Best decision I ever made in my
Same
world.
here.
Exactly. So you can relate. And so for
Mhm,
me, it just so happens that I found love right where I was. I found love when I said, I want someone kind. I don't care about the color of their hair or their eyes or their height or their skin tone. All I want is someone kind. And when I changed my approach to what I was looking for, I got everything.
mhm,
When you meet Erica, which you will at Turning Point, when you meet my wife, you'll understand, oh my gosh, this person is perfect for me.
mhm,
And again, the best decision I ever made. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that flips over into our other businesses. You're in a unique business. I've never met an iridologist. I've never met that before. And I love that idea because to me, everything matters.
mhm.
And when you start paying attention to everything, you realize, yeah, your life shows up in your eyeballs the same way that a palm reader could read your palms. Your life
Absolutely.
shows up in the way that you live, and the stress and the experience and everything else in your eyes is gonna be there. And so I love people that take unique approaches to their lives. And that's one of the things that you do. But I will tell you this. Again, I'm the only hypnotist in my family. I'm the only one that decided that this would be my career and the only thing that would be my career. And there's a lot of people that my father is one of those people that poo-pooed the idea of me being in entertainment and me being a hypnotist specifically because he didn't understand it. And because he didn't
Mm,
understand it, he wasn't able to benefit from everything that I knew to be true. Just like there's people in your world that will reject what you do for a living. Oh, that's nonsense. And there's people that will embrace it and say, no, this works. This is effective for me. It helps me understand myself and makes my life better. Those are your customers. And the ones that would,
absolutely.
say, hey, this is bad, they were never your customers anyway. They'll never get it. And
Mm-mm.
our prayer, you and me, our prayer would be that they get it somehow. If not me now, who, when is always the question.
Mhm.
So
They
so
will
yeah,
some way.
yeah, without a doubt, and if they don't, it's okay, they weren't supposed to in this someday.
Hmm.
Besides asking me about my life, what are you working on?
So right now, I am working to make my life the way I want it. I want a bigger house. I want a nicer car. I want to travel more. I want to have a stable life to bring children into the world someday. So, because right now it's great, it's lovely for me, but I want more, and I want more for my future. So,
I heard your voice break a little bit, and everything you described were solved with money. And here,
yes.
here, here is where Marcus and I are different. One of the other ways, besides Trump, one of the other ways that we're different is my friend Marcus. This guy could be a billionaire. There's zero doubt in my mind. He's just brilliant. He could be
Hmm.
a billionaire, except he shuns money. He kind of brushes it off, and I'm not doing this for money, and I don't want that to be the driving force, and I don't want people to think.
Hmm.
And yet he lives really well, drives a Mercedes Benz, has a beautiful home in one of the richest areas in Las Vegas because it's a byproduct of him giving value to other people. Except, and this is the big except, I see a lot of people like Marcus and fans of his not make money a priority, not make money the thing that would solve their other challenges. You know this, and I'm preaching to the choir on this, Genevieve, that money and money stress is the biggest reason relationships don't work. Is
Hmm.
that people are stressed about living in general, and they think that maybe it's the dynamics of the relationship that are causing them to be broke, not realizing no, it's got nothing. Maybe, I mean, if the relationship is hell all the time and all you do is stress about your relationship, yeah, it's impossible to get anything else done. But if you're in a harmonious relationship, if you're in a place where you love your spouse, you love your significant other, and you're happy with that part of your life, then no, money's not the challenge in the relationship. Money's the challenge, period. You know, we just had a guest on. I don't know if you were watching when Josh was on, and he was talking about the fact that he meets this beautiful, intelligent, amazing woman whose family is extremely wealthy and from
Hmm.
Dubai, which is some of the greatest concentration of wealth on the planet. And her reason for not being with him was only, I don't want to put stress on you. You know, I'm
Hmm.
accustomed to this lifestyle. You're making 1,500 bucks a month. I'm going to want to fly on a private jet. You can't afford it, and it's going to doom our relationship, which was true, which is a factual statement. The thing is, though, that when you solve that money question, then everything else gets easier. So people that push money away or say, you know, that I don't want to be shallow and I don't want it to be about money and I don't, you know, I don't want people to think that I'm all about the money. I'm all about the money. I am.
Hmm.
I'm all about the money. And I'm also all about you. And I'm also all about making other people's lives better so they can have the joy that I've experienced in my life. So it's not an either or world, it's an and world. So people like you that, you know, everything that's listed in your description of you right now, iridologist, artist, musician, all of those things are artistic expressions. They're creative expressions. And you know, as a hypnotist, even though it's a practical process like yours is, it's still an artistic delivery that the
Hmm.
people that are best at what we do are aware, and artists are aware. You know, I'm looking at your background, I'm thinking, man, I want to get one of those backgrounds. I like that sky. That's beautiful.
Oh,
So
thank you.
so people that are artistic are aware. The challenge is we're using right brain and we also have to use left brain. We also have to say, is there money here?
Hmm.
I know a lot of broke hypnotists. I know a lot of people that do extremely good work. They're very transformational, yet they don't understand money. And because they don't understand money, they're not able to do hypnosis for a living. I have a lot of musician friends. They're remarkable musicians. They don't understand show business is two words, and the bigger word is business. And so they don't approach their career in such a way that they say, I need to make money so that I can fully and openly express myself as an artist.
Hmm.
If I were to wave a magic wand over your head right now and transform something about you, what would it change?
Mm. It would change my I wouldn't care what anyone would think anymore. I
Okay.
wouldn't care what anyone would would think about me having success anymore. I want to let a lot of that go. And I would also let go of my beliefs fully about pushing money away and that it's shallow, because that's just not true. I'm finding out. Thanks to
Good.
you, really. So,
Well, you're the highlight of my day so far. So you keep watching. I am
mhm.
glad you're here. As you may know or may not know, because you're brand new to the show, the most interesting call of the day, as voted on by your peers, is going to win 10 ounces of pure Marshall silver, and potentially could win $4,500 cash if you say the secret word of the day. So on that note, do
I,
you have a guess?
I, my, I was in the green room probably while it was being said. So, and testing my mic. Did you say it at that? Did you say it
No,
before, or is this a
I
full
just
guess?
just give clues that you have to decipher.
Ooh.
It's okay. You keep watching. Now that I've got a new fan, you stay with the show. I
Mhm.
have a funny suspicion you just may win 10 ounces of pure silver today. So
Okay.
keep tuned in and tell your friends all about it. And awesome to meet you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marshall.
You take care, Genevieve. I certainly love people. You know, you never know what somebody else is going through. You know, somebody as beautiful as Genevieve finds love and then has a reticence because she doesn't know how the world's going to respond to her being in love just because of the particular person she's in love with. And I look forward to a time where we never have to worry about that. That if we're happy and the people we're around are happy, that other people will just let us be happy as we let them be happy. You know, I thought that was a great example, by the way, of Marcus. Marcus and I have opposing views. He doesn't like Trump, and when he was at my house and we were filming an episode, we filmed an episode for his podcast and then one for my podcast. We both know that, except we're friends. We love each other. We respect each other. And I'm just looking forward to a time when people can hold opposing views and still like each other. I'm looking forward to a time where people remember their sense of humor. So, speaking of people that I love with phenomenal senses of humor and who happens to love Donald Trump, Christian Jensen, welcome to the platform. Glad you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Marshall. Appreciate it.
What's happening, brother?
Just wanted to jump on and ask a pretty simple question. As you know, we are in the business of helping people and growing. I'm a longtime student of yours, and just massive fan because of what you've done for my wife and I. And I'm lucky to have the wife that I do. I love how you talk about Erica every minute of every day, and that's how I feel with Linda. I work with her daily, inside and out, day in and day out. My question is, what keeps people in their insisting on buying into their fear of exactly what they claim they want to get rid of, if that makes any sense.
Not completely. So clarify that a little bit.
So a lot of people are very clear on their fears in life, whether it's professionally, personally. I just don't know how to get past helping people who have a hard time recognizing their fear, but they will not face their fears. They will not tackle it. What causes that, or what's in your head, what helps the most in trying to help somebody in that situation?
Kenny Loggins, the musician, has a line in one of his songs. Excuse me, I take that back. It's not Kenny Loggins. It's George Michael, the musician, has a line in one of his songs, and the line is something I just can't explain. Something in me needs this pain. And I believe that to be extremely true. And, you know, years ago, I would be in front of an audience and I would demonstrate influence skills. And I would teach people about influence. And then I would select somebody that I perceived to be the hardest close in the room, the person that would be toughest to sell anything to. And I would have them stand up and I would go through the process that I just taught. And I would close that particular person on something. I would sell them something just to demonstrate that's what I do. And often, because it was the hardest person in the room to close, it would take energy from me. It would take time and it would take just some real effort. And what I realized was, Marshall, why are you attempting to close the hardest person to close in the room? What's the point of all that? I mean, sure, it's the lesson, and yeah, maybe other people perceive them to be the hardest person to close in the room, but maybe other people don't. So you're working your tail off for no real outcome. My point in all of this is that you're wanting to motivate people that at this point are saying, I don't want to be motivated. They
Mhm.
don't want to get over their fear. They don't want to become unstuck. And while that's painful, particularly when it's people that we love and people that we care about, even though that's painful, the bottom line is, giving somebody something they don't want, that's not kindness. Even if the thing we want to give them is kindness, even if the thing that we want to give them absolutely will benefit their lives, if they don't want it in the moment, the fact of the matter is they will never receive it. And if they never receive it, then, we'll always be dissatisfied. If they receive it, maybe we're satisfied, but I don't think we'll be satisfied either because they didn't want it. And so they won't have any gratitude either. And so we lose on every front. So the expression I use is and I love you. And clearly the timing's not right for you. Again, I have 10 siblings and I love my brothers and sisters. They're not wired like me. They don't have the same mindset that I have. They don't have the same belief of how the world works that I have. And so some of them struggle a lot. One of them right now is struggling to the degree that I'm concerned. I'm concerned about their health. I'm concerned that they will lose the will to live. And I'm not going to go any further down that path other than saying read between the lines on that. And there's nothing I can say that's going to change it. Can I put things in front of them that I pray will open their eyes to a new reality? Yes, I do. And I can and I do. Except that doesn't mean that they will change. So I think the lesson here, Christian, is all you can do is all you can do, and you've got to surrender that and say, okay. I think that's also, because I have a personal insight on some other things that you and the bride are going through right now with a company that you have worked with. And the fact of the matter is, it'll turn out some way. And while we desire it to turn out a certain way, not given and not certain, and in due respect, as much as you may not want to hear this right now, not even likely. And so the contingency has to be okay. So we did some great things there. For sure, we created a phenomenal community. You've got a lot of relationships you wouldn't have had that business not been in business and you've been involved with that. And so the fact is, if it comes around, eureka, let's celebrate, let's be good. I understand, but if it doesn't, let's plan accordingly.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's where you are right now. You discovered that you and Linda have an amazing gift. Maybe you didn't discover it. Maybe you knew it all along. The two of you have an amazing gift of leading people. Your relationship, your life is a wonderful example to other people of how marriages can be, of how family can be, of how a life can be lived. Unfortunately, you got used to a particular level of income that opportunity brought to you, and suddenly it's gone. That's both a blessing and a curse. The curse is, how do we pay our bills right now? The blessing is you got used to that lifestyle and you'll do whatever you need to do to make sure you find a way to sustain that.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I can't even imagine dealing with what we're dealing with at the moment. See, it's interesting because we're in this position where we haven't even slowed down. If anything, we've moved faster because of the perspectives that we've learned with you over a very long time. And I can't even thank you enough for the influence that you've been in our lives. And I know I'm speaking for my wife, Linda very well. And we absolutely respect and honor everything you've brought into our lives. And we wouldn't be where we are without you. And, but I'm excited to keep things moving, and we appreciate you coming to the event. For those of you who don't know, he came out to an event for us and on his own dime, really. And just,
I wish it was only a dime.
I know. Well, I can't, I tell everybody, Marshall Silver is the real deal. I mean, we've put on events for many, many big celebrity types for, over 15 years. And we have never met anyone more genuine and focused and sincere in their own existence, and just by your example. And it's so cool because you show your vulnerabilities. The more you get to know you, the more real you are. As you said before, I'm definitely a Trumpster. I don't love everything about Trump. He drives me crazy in certain ways, but it's just common sense. He's a practical, common sense guy. I like paying $2 a gallon for my gas. I remember really enjoying that and appreciating it. And
I like people being vetted that are entering my home. I like everybody to go through the front door and make sure that they showed me ID to know they're not criminals or terrorists or drug dealers or, frankly, non-productive citizens of my country that I have to pay for.
well, you're just a racist.
I know. I'm a racist. If that's what a racist is, I'm a racist. That's true.
Amazing that common sense is just gone. I don't know where it went. I don't know what.
I don't think it ever went anywhere. I think part of the challenge, Christian, is exactly what this show's all about, is that there's very few places that we can find either digitally, online or in the terrestrial world, radio, television, print in the terrestrial world. There's just no place that we can have discussions like this. And again, I had somebody contact me who hates Trump. I mean, flat out hates him. And he messaged me and he said, I want to call into your show, but I want to warn you. I said, you don't have to warn me. I don't care what you think. What you think is your prerogative. And if it's working for you, keep doing it. I mean that. I don't need anybody to believe what I believe. The question I always have, though, is how's that working? And you just said it, again, people will try to justify it in any number of ways and say, oh, the economy's better under Biden. And I say, where? Show me where. Well, unemployment is at record lows. And my response is, that's bullshit. That's just not true. Yeah. We lost a lot of jobs during COVID. Everything shut down, and the jobs that we're seeing come back are the ones that were taken away to begin with. We've got, the cost of living is skyrocketing. Certainly, fuel is a really good indication, and more than that, we have an unarguable amount of people coming across the border illegally that are all coming into. They're not going just anywhere. They're all going to blue states, and you got to ask the question: why would they be going to blue states? Because the blue states need them so that the Democratic Party, and again, I don't believe in Republican or Democratic because they're all one party. It's all politics as usual. It's frankly us against them. And, I'm in the vault right now, and I pray that I don't get deplatformed for acknowledging that, except that's what we've got to get to, is a place where we, the people, realize that the idea of Democratic and Republican might have meant something when the Republicans stepped in to abolish slavery, which it was the Republicans that did that, not the Democrats, like they pretend to, care about people of color. That's not the case. And they demonstrate it repeatedly. So, one of the things that's got to happen is we, the people, need to realize our power is our number. It's the fact that we're all in this together. And so when we quit fighting with each other and we get on the same page and we say, no, I want my household protected. I want my Second Amendment rights upheld, because not to protect me against you, it's to protect me against people that would tell me what I can say and what I can think and how I can be, and what I can own and all the above. That's what's got to be protected right now. And again, this rant could very likely get me kicked off the air altogether, except I'll go down swinging, because I have children that I love, and I have a country that I love deeply, and I have, a wife that deserves my protection, just like I know that you're that kind of a man in your household.
Amen. I agree 100%. When you have in Chicago, they're letting illegal immigrants take over empty homes and carry guns when their neighbors who are citizens can't have a gun.
And they can't protect their own household.
It's incredible to me. Anyway,
if a mob tries to trample their front yard and they stand on their front porch with guns, they're arrested. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Our Donald Trump, again, I don't care how much you hate Trump. You got to understand the concept of fining a guy $450 million when there was no victim. In fact, the very people that they're claiming were the victims are saying, no, we're not victims. It never happened. When that kind of insanity is allowed to be, and worse, there are people rejoicing that.
Yeah.
For the grace of God, go I. You may rejoice that Trump's getting punished and beat up and attacked in that way, but just really put it in perspective. Wait till it's you.
Yep.
Wait until it's you, because you could hate Trump. It doesn't matter. You got to also take a look at what's happening. Take his name and his identity out of it. Just make it Joe Schmo, anybody
Yep.
that didn't have a victim. There was no crime committed. The kangaroo courts then went and attempted to destroy his multi-billion-dollar empire.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I'm heated right now because I know I can talk truth with you and you get it.
Yep.
And again, I think this is what's going to save our country. This is what's going to save our planet, because it's not just about our country. USA used to be an example to the world of good living. And now we're not. We're a laughing stock at the moment. And until we get better leadership, it's going to remain that way.
Well, and if America gets taken down, they've accomplished a lot. And there is a conspiracy against America right now, especially focused on America, because we could go in all directions. But I have so much respect for you, brother. I really, really do. And I thank you so much for all the help you've given us over the years. And just the friendships means more to us than money or success or any of that stuff. So we just wanted to let you know we love you and we appreciate everything about you, and hope Eric is feeling much better, and look forward to doing amazing things with you in the future.
She's doing awesome. And yes, I care about you guys too. We are in this together, and I'm excited to not replace the income that's temporarily lost. I look forward to creating another revenue stream with you guys that's so far above and beyond what you were making. You say, okay, this is the reason we're here. It was supposed to lead us to where we are now.
Absolutely. It's coming. It's coming. I'd like to, before you throw me off here, I want to get the word of the day.
Go ahead.
Empathy.
No, it's not the word.
I tried.
Good. No, you got to give it a shot. Always. Yeah. Good job. Hey, brother, you are loved. Give your wife a hug, and I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, good people today. Good stuff. Good calls. George, you're live on the air. Welcome home, my friend.
Hey, Marshall. How are you?
I'm always awesome.
Fantastic. This is my first time on your show, and I'm excited.
Well, I'm very glad you're here. What is your question?
So, my wife is an 8-year veteran of the Army. She has a...
Thank you for her service.
Yeah. Thank you for telling us that. Yeah, it's just, so, one of the challenges I have in helping her and her mindset that was pretty much drilled on her is this tough love attitude, right? This live by the day, live by the moment attitude that gets instilled in the military lifestyle. So, when she has a little argument with my 4-year-old son, I see her trying to use the tough love attitude, and it doesn't allow him to express himself in the way that he should get those feelings out and learn what those feelings are all about. So yeah, my question is, hey, how do I help her out? How do I help change that mindset that was drilled into her?
Yeah, empathy is everything, for sure. The ability to say, if I were her and I had gone through 8 years of military service, what would that have done to me? And what would that have, how would that have formed me? My daughter last night wanted to go on her iPad, and her mother asked her, did you brush your teeth yet? And she started to argue with her mother. And I just looked at my daughter and I said, stop the argument and answer the question. That's all you got to do. No, I haven't brushed my teeth yet. Can I go on the iPad? I said, I think you have an answer already. And she left. Then when she left, I was pondering, because I want to be a good parent. I was pondering, was I too hard on her? And the answer was, no, I wasn't. She left. She went and brushed her teeth, flossed her teeth, came back down. And I thought that when I had said you got an answer already, that she would hear that as, no, you can't go on your iPad. That's not what she heard. What she heard was, I need to go brush my teeth, floss my teeth, come back down and ask again. So she goes upstairs, and I'm thinking that, maybe she's upset I was too harsh. But she comes back down the stairs. She says, Mommy, I brushed my teeth and I flossed my teeth. May I now go on my iPad? And I smiled, because I know I thought I was being too hard on her, but I wasn't. And she got good value out of it. And so I think the way that you can help your wife understand and still be right with what she's doing? She's being hard on your kid just because she wants your kid to have a good life. That's the only thing. And, and she went through the experience of being in the military. She knows what it did for her, what it did for her discipline. So there's a part of her psyche, no matter how bad the experience might have been in certain ways, that thinks this is something good for our children. And I wouldn't completely disagree with her. But I think the piece that's missing and the thing that you're asking about is, my daughter in the example, the reason she came back and she asked, so now can I go on my iPad? My wife said, ask your dad. She looked over at me. She said, Daddy, can I go on my iPad? And I stared at her and I put my eyebrow up. And then she went, and she smiled. She charmed me, because that's the lesson I want her to get. You don't get what you want by demanding it. You don't get what you want by throwing a fit, ever. You can get what you want by doing things in the proper order and then being charming. So I think that if I were communicating to my wife, and there's been times when I thought my wife was coming down too hard on our kids, and I'm sure there's been times when she thought I was coming down too hard. And all I ask is the kid, do you know your mother loves you? Do you understand the reason that she's behaving this way right now?
Well,
And it's a great way for the kid to acknowledge, yes, mom doesn't want me to break my arm because I'm running in the house, or mom doesn't want me to, go through life without discipline. But it's also a really good way, without calling my wife on stuff, for my wife to check in with herself and go, am I being overly overbearing? Am I being overly strict? Am I being mean right now, when maybe my wife's just having a challenging day? So
that's a great question.
I think that I would go about it two ways. I would go about it by helping my child know, she's your mom. I'm not going to side against your mother, except do you know why she's being this way? And is there a different way for her to ask the kid? Well, the mom's there. Is there a different way that she could communicate to you that would make you do this behavior faster? Because you're teaching them both now. They're both learning. The kid says, well, if she would just say please, like, you tell me I've got to say please for everything. If she would just say please, then I would do it.
Problem
then if
solved.
the wife doesn't want to say please, then the next time something comes up, your wife chews the kid out. You look at the kid and you say, would you please do this? The kid immediately turns around and does it. You look at your wife and you don't say, hey, I'm right, you were wrong. Look at what happened here. You just look at your wife like, honey, we want the same thing. And I love you. I love our child. I know you do. My bride, she's beautiful, and she's in her 30s. And it's the, it's the zero birthdays, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 that matter. And, she's coming up on 40. She's coming up on 40. And I know that she's not fond of that idea. And so every day I remind my wife that she just gets more beautiful every day. And I think that that's what's important. So where are you calling in from? Where's home?
Oh, Chicago.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
So I'm glad you guys mentioned it earlier.
Yes. Well, brother, you are amazing. You are totally loved. I'm so glad you were on the show. Do you have a shot at the secret word?
Oh, benevolent.
No, close though. So you should stay on, because tomorrow morning I'm going to announce who won the silver. And I think we only had 3 calls. We had yourself, we had Christian, and we had Genevieve. So all 3 of you are potentially in the running for the money. Because you're the last caller of the day, I talked earlier. I said it was a buffet, and I said my son, I offered him a machaca burrito, and he said, no, I don't want that. That's pork, Daddy. And I mentioned it a couple times. The word of the day was what I'm having for lunch, frankly. It was carnitas.
Oh, that was.
I know what you're thinking, man. You're thinking, dang it, I could have bought a lot of burritos with $4,500. But tomorrow's another day, and tomorrow I'm going to add $500 to the amount. So tomorrow is going to be worth $5,000. So all you got to do, guess the word tomorrow. Hey, you're loved, brother. Thanks for calling in. How'd you find the show?
You know what? I studied a little bit under Bandler, and I'm guessing somehow, some way, my Google search got back to me. So,
well, I like it.
Thank you, Marshall.
You're very welcome, George. Have an awesome day, and God bless you, the bride, and your child.
Thank you.
Hey, life is good. We're wrapping up a show for today. I love it when we get such great questions, and today definitely had some phenomenal questions. If you love what's going on this show, you make sure you tell your friends. Go to studiomoney.info / contest where you can get an affiliate link. When you tell people about the show, they come and enjoy the show. Should they come to one of our live events, which everybody that got on the air today, George and Genevieve and Christian, you've got 2 tickets to Turning Point. You are my guests whenever you want to attend. We do Turning Point about every other month. Come be with me. I want to change your life. I want to help you out. And even more, Christian says he's voting for Christian. I don't blame you, man. I'd vote for myself too. That's how the world works. Same time tomorrow. Your calls, amazing guests, and so much more. And when you get your affiliate link and you refer people to the show, should they buy anything from me, you get 30% of anything they buy. So could become an entire money-making stream. I would like that for you. I'm Marshall Silver. Until we chat, have an awesome day. Bye for now. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.